Okay, so I have once again updated this pulley step-down system. You may notice that I now have a support on either side of the pulleys. And what that allowed me was just the confidence to be able to tighten my belt, especially on the 2-inch pulley, because that's where the power comes from. Eventually from the 2-inch. And so in addition to having a support on either side, the whole insides have changed. So now instead of that, if you recall, there was a shoulder screw going through just one bracket on the left. Well, and then wrapped around that shoulder screw was a sleeve bearing, and then the pulleys were pushed onto the sleeve bearing, and so the sleeve bearing is what spun around on a stationary pin down shoulder screw. That was only supported on one side, and it just didn't give me the confidence. At one point, I had tried a belt that was kind of stiff. I've tried several different belts. The Amish belt was stiff, so I had to tighten the belt more. And, you know, when I tightened it, I noticed that my little L brackets here, these yellow ones, it bent. Well, it would have been on this side, actually, because I think it was this. Well, no, let's see. I can't remember now. But, you know, it kind of bent in a little as, you know, I was tightening the belts. And then also, if you recall, with that system, I had just one little nut holding the whole thing together. And the nut wasn't even screwed in all the way because those shoulder screws only have a few little threads. Now, what I've noticed on that setup was that Weaver leather, it looks like their shoulder screw must have been custom made because, or else it was just a bigger bolt. It was a bigger, thicker shoulder screw. Maybe it had longer threads at the end. And also, they didn't have just a little sleeve bearing in the center here. They had a sleeve bearing that started way out here, and it was a flanged sleeve bearing, and then that went all the way through, it looked like. So it just encompassed this entire spread of pulleys, whereas the one I was using was only like right here in the center. It was like 5/8 of an inch long. I couldn't find them any longer than that, especially for the 1/4 inch sleeve bearing that was inside. You know, maybe for thicker bars, your shafts or what have you, or sleeve bearings, I could have gotten a longer sleeve bearing, but McMaster Carr didn't have them. And I did look other places, but so anyway, so I decided on trying this setup, and you'll notice that I have a sleeve bearing here and a sleeve bearing here. But these are called mounted sleeve bearings because you can see they're mounted, you know. Here's the bolt and here's the bolt. So they're mounted real tight. The shaft goes through the center. The sleeve bearings are tightened down and secure on these 2 L brackets. And the shaft now, this entire shaft spins. So instead of the little sleeve bearing in the center spinning on a fixed shaft, now we have a shaft that spins on 2 sleeve bearings. And to get these sleeve bearings to be level, you can just mount your shaft. You can put a level like right here in the center on there. Like I have a level where I can use the short side of the level. I have several ways to move this. I have movement here. I have movement up here. This here, these are just holding this L bracket to the silver L bracket. And then I have movement down here because these are bolted into the table underneath. You can see the two bolts and the nuts there. And you can see my same, I don't know how bright that's showing up, but two L brackets on the ends here. These are just shelf brackets and an L bracket, the same as this one here, down here. And these, as you recall, came from a vertical blind set. So it is hard to find a bracket like this with the holes, and I just got lucky that the sleeve bearings, these mounted sleeve bearings from McMaster Carr, the distance between the two holes on the sleeve bearings was 1 3/4, which is the exact distance on center of these two holes, you know, these two holes here. So I got lucky, and I did kind of look for one like that. So, and then of course this sleeve bearing is made for a 1/4 inch shaft. And you'll notice that the shaft is really pushed in on this right side. And that's in case I need to change the belt. If I want to change my belt, I want to make sure that I don't have to take everything off on the pulley and do a bunch of, you know, unscrew a lot of things. All I have to do to change the belt now is to take this shaft collar here, because this shaft collar is stopping the shaft from moving, you know, left to right. And the same thing with this shaft collar. Now, it does allow some movement. You can see here, there, I don't know if you can see that, but let's see if I can show the gap. So you can see there's like a 1/4 inch gap there. You can kind of see the shaft. Well, it was in there. There you can kind of see it between the collar and this yellow bracket here. So the shaft can move a little, and you want that little bit for it to move, so it's got a little bit there that it can move left to right. Over here it's pretty tight though. It's pretty much up against the it's pretty much up against the bearing, the sleeve bearing, and then the sleeve bearing is connected to this L bracket. So it really can't move much more to, you know, this way. But if I undid the set screw on this collar right here, the one on the same side as the end of the machine, if I undid that set screw, then I can take this shaft and push it out. And I only have to push it out enough to get this belt off. So that's about, you know, from the collar to here, that distance from like, you know, the collar to say right there. Okay. That gives me 1/4 of an inch. Okay, that distance is approximately this distance here that you see. This distance. It's really tight. It's really tight. I could have alleviated that by putting these brackets farther apart from each other. But it'll, you know, and this is still pinned. These two are still pinned to the shaft. So I just unloosen that collar, or I loosen the collar, sorry, and then grab the shaft, or, you know, I don't really want to grab the pulleys, but I'll just like take this shaft. I already did it once, and I can kind of go like this and kind of pull on it, and I can get it to move that way, you know. And then I have a little gap here. So that's why this is mounted the way it is. You know, it's got this space here. That's so that I can push everything out, take the belts off through this little gap that I made, and then put a different belt on. Because that's how I had to do it when I tried the black belt from PetSmart, the one that was too slippery. And it worked okay. It was a little tight, but, you know, the belts are squishy, so. And even a V-belt would fit through the little gap. And then just when I'm done, push it back in, and, you know, you can see that this shaft is just sticking out a little bit past the collar. And so I just put it on the same way. And then again, like I said, there's still a little movement that can be made, and you let this self-center itself. But you do kind of want to get it pretty straight. You can eyeball it, and then it'll do the rest. And if you see this slide way over, you know, to this bearing, to where there's no gap here whatsoever, then you say to yourself, you know, I probably should move these main brackets that way, just to, you know, I don't want to see no space here. I want there to be a gap here, because then I know nothing's going to rub. It's not trying to get farther to the left, and it can't. So that's my thought process on the whole thing. You know, I don't know if it's correct, but now nothing is slipping, even with really thick fabric that I know the machine should be able to go through. And again, that's at a slow speed, because you don't want to plow through and go fast on something heavy. So I'm interrupting this video to tell you something that I did. I kind of have a feeling, and now I'm pretty sure about it, but I'm thinking that the nylon pulleys that I have, those two, the 2-inch and the 6-inch, they're nylon. And because I couldn't find any other pulleys with a 1/4 inch, for a 1/4 inch shaft, other than those nylon ones. And I don't think it was the 1/4 inch shaft. It might have been the 1/4 inch channel for the 1/4 inch type belts. But regardless of which one it was, I had to get those. And I'm still contemplating on getting a 3/8 inch pulley, particularly the Weaver leather one. But that'll be in the future. At any rate, I decided that when these pulleys do slip, particularly the 2-inch one, if I really challenge it, it'll start to slip. And I mean really challenge it. But then when that happens and it's slipping and I take the hand wheel with my hand and, you know, I dial down into the fabric, it's not even that hard to do it. Like, it's not hard for the machine to do it. So I decided to try to put something on inside the 2-inch pulley, because that's the one that slips, because that's where the power comes from. I decided to put something inside the channel, something that's tacky. Didn't want to put double-sided tape because I don't want any tape to transfer to my hand wheel. So here's what I ended up doing. I went looking through my old tapes and I found this peel and stick fabric fuse. I mean, this is so old, I don't even know, you know, what I used it for. But I felt the top of it. It's kind of tacky, but that's the paper that you're supposed to peel off. I was like, oh, well, whatever. And so when you take it off, so it's got, you know, stickiness on this side, and then also, I guess the fusing part is on the other side or both sides. I'm not sure. But I'm not peeling the paper off. And I don't want to stick this to my hand, to my pulley, to inside, you know, the channels of my pulley. I don't want to stick this directly on that because I don't want this stuff to come off on my pulleys if I ever remove it or what have you. So I decided to stick this on painter's tape. So here's what I did. This is baker's paper, baker's sheet. You could just buy it at the grocery store, and so, you know, nothing sticks to it. It's kind of like a Teflon sheet, but not really. You can iron it and everything. So I put my painter's tape down, and then I put this down on top of the painter's tape, sticky side down on both of them. And then I trimmed off a 1/4 inch of both, and I got, you know, something that looks like this. This is the remnant. So this is the peel and stick on top and the painter's tape, and then this stuff. You can see the painter's tape. And so this is a 1/4 inch. And that's the depth of the channel. It's about a 1/4 inch. And then I just started putting it on the pulley. So you can see a section there. And so I just put the tape on. And since this is a circle, you know, I could only go so far. So this is a short piece. And then I cut it, trimmed it to the circle, trimmed it to the circle. Of course, I took the belt off. You know, I just pulled the machine back and then lifted this belt off and kind of set it there for a minute. And I put that around. I actually started on this side, the side closer to me, and I kind of messed up. I made a mistake. But I put it on this inside one. And you could see it's just as short. And then I came directly on the other side and put it on the same inside one. You can't see it. And then I thought to myself, okay, for the other two sides, top and bottom, I'll put it opposite on the opposite one. I don't know, I was just kind of experimenting. So I put one there, and there should be one down there, but I don't know because I might have made a mistake. Let me see. Yeah, I did. I put it on the same side. Here's it. It's this one right here is supposed to be on the other side. So when I saw that, I was like, oh geez, and I was like, oh whatever, it's working great. I challenged it through some really dense leather, and it went right through it. You know, whereas it would have slipped before. So, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll just try to, I don't know even where I can go. This is so dense, and I've gone over it so many times, but the machine is having no issues. And so this is about, try to see if I can get it. It's kind of hard to do it while it's on. Okay, let me pull that away. So it says 5.23, but it was over 6 mils. I think I've just smashed it down so much. So it's over a 1/4 inch. Let's see what we got over there. 5.87. So it's, let's just say 6 mils. And it's all leather. And so I have the needle down, and I'll show it to you. Even when the needle is just ready to puncture the fabric, I can still go in without it spinning. So we'll come up. See how I'm going so slow and I'm kind of stopping? Let's stop. Okay, so right there it's ready to penetrate. I can go right in. And I can go in slowly. And that's the point. Like, if you're going to challenge your machine, you know, you don't want to go in fast. You want to go in slow. And this has the torque to do that. So, because when you go in slow, it kind of gives all of the elements a chance to flex and stretch and conform. At least that's what my friend told me, the mechanical engineer. That's why thick things that they want to crush or what have you, they don't pound them with a hammer. They crush them with certain slow-moving tools that are set up to just allow things to take their time to crush and what have you, and deform and so on. I really don't understand all the concepts of that, but it's kind of happening here. So it's working because I have the torque, and that's the same thing with the heavy machinery. They use torque to do the crushing instead of speed and power. They use torque and the power of the torque. So I'll show you. See right there, as slow as I'm going, it would have slipped. But it's not slipping because I have more traction on the belt. So I don't like having to put all these, you know, crazy things on my system here, but it's allowing me to learn what the issues are and how I can address them in the future. So I'll just go ahead now and right up here it's really heavy. Right here at the end, like, it's pretty, I don't know why they get like harder at the end. It's kind of too tall. Oh yeah, that was the thick one. I don't know where my other piece went to, but I guess we'll just use that. So and see, like that one right there, it would have slipped, but it's going right in. So I just wanted to show that, and so in some parts of this video you may not see those pieces of tape on. Okay, back to the video. And then, as you recall, this didn't change in here, only this time the two pulleys are pinned to the shaft, the little pins that come with them. And then I have, again, a piece of electrical tape just to protect them. Now, it's not actually taped on, it's just electrical tape that's doubled up on itself. So it's smooth on both sides. There's no stickiness. And I just wrapped it around the two pulleys here in the center because I just wanted a little bit of protection for this hose clamp. This hose clamp makes sure that there's no slipping of those two pins. It just is added protection, gives more power. It just creates a stronger center here. So you can see here I have a little bit of painter's tape. That just helped me to tape the electrical tape and give me a chance to put the collar on this here. And remember, this isn't tightened down really tight. It's just enough till you feel it snug. And remember, I got these at Mark's for $1.49. They were so cheap. Just the little hose things that come on when you break your hose, when you get a leak in your hose, your garden hose. That's what this is. And it's got a little screw there to unloosen it, to take it off. So, and then this is just the silicone aquarium tubing from PetSmart. But here's the thing, I've had this for a while. It's got a slight tackiness to it, but it doesn't attract lint like a lot of silicone does. And that slight tackiness is really good with these nylon pulleys, because remember, these are nylon pulleys. And I really do think that maybe the steel pulleys aren't as slippery. I think, I'm not sure, but I was afraid to try the steel pulleys because the only ones I could find had not a 1/4 inch shaft, but a wider shaft, which is fine, but then that wider shaft for the center of the pulleys was only available in 3/8 inch wide channel here. And I was worried that 3/8 inch wide would be too wide for, say, you know, my motor pulley. Maybe I could have found a pulley that would fit that. Although this pulley is old. It comes from an old vintage motor. Not even a Singer one, I don't believe. It was my grandma's on her treadle that they turned into electric. It was on her motor. And it does seem like the channel on this pulley is a little bit wider than most that you buy today. So this one might have been able to take a 3/8 inch belt. The hand wheel can take a 3/8 inch belt because I tried it. It's a little wide, but you know, I did try it. I bought one. I bought a silicone one. I couldn't really test it though because the 3/8 inch belt, I mean, I couldn't test it fully because it kept slipping off this 2-inch pulley here because, of course, these pulleys are made for 1/4 inch. Maybe in some time in the future, I'll purchase a 3/8 inch pulley, maybe even the one from Weaver Leather. But the reviewer on Weaver Leather said that the L bracket that they are using, because remember their setup is only got one bracket and a shoulder screw with a thicker shaft, of course. But the L bracket, they said, was flimsy. And I agree. And just having an L bracket just didn't seem like enough. You need 2 brackets. So I would have to talk to Weaver Leather and ask them if their shoulder screw is long enough to encompass another L bracket on the other side. So I don't know. But I do like their pulley setup. First of all, it's already pinned together. But like I said, it's got the 3/8 inch channel. So anyways, so I was able to tighten the belt more with this setup. And you can see here that, you know, I just sewed it 4 times. And because it's strong silicone, those pinholes are just pinholes. They don't make a slit and cut everything when you pull it tight. That one there might look a little shady. I've used this so many times, so I might have redone this sewing. It doesn't look like I sewed this good enough. It looks like these two are too close together. This pinpoint should have been over here more. But it still works fine. And this is a idler pulley, homemade. It just makes sure that when you do encompass anything heavy fabric, what happens when something is really heavy that you're stitching and thick, the 2-inch pulley here kind of arcs. In other words, the belt will arc and it'll like come up. It'll pop up like this. And sometimes that causes slipping. It can cause the belt to come off. That really didn't happen too much for me, unless the belt was really loose. But this prevents that. This is marine vinyl, and it's the kind with the white on the inside that's slippery. And the inside stitching, like the threads, are going in this direction, horizontal. And I think that allows it to slide back and forth. It just slides. When it comes over here, it slides back here, you know, when it gets too wide. So, and this is about 1.5 inches wide, and from the stitching to here is 2 inches, which is the diameter of the 2-inch pulley. So, I did want a black belt, so I went on PetSmart, and you have to go into the store or have DoorDash deliver it, because the black aquarium tubing at PetSmart is not on their website. So you have to either go into the store or have DoorDash deliver it for $5, the black one. But guess what? The black tubing from PetSmart, same brand as this one, it's called True Fin. It's not tacky anymore. It's slippery. So it's not even like the silicone belt that I bought from Amazon. I bought the 3/8 inch silicone belt from Amazon. I'll show you in one sec. So here's the 3/8 inch tubing from Amazon that I was going to maybe try before I decided on going with, like, you know, I was contemplating getting the Weaver pulleys. And I could still get them. I just don't know if I need it or not. Because, remember, I was worried that the nylon pulleys were just too slippery. So I was going to see if the 3/8 inch silicone belt would work with the hand wheel and the motor pulley and so on. So I did buy it. And it is tacky, you know. It does attract a lot of dust. And I guess silicone is supposed to attract a lot of dust. I don't know if you could see all the dust on there. And you can kind of feel it. And I don't know if that is going to affect anything. But the other thing about the 3/8 inch belt, you can see it doesn't really have an arc that would nicely fit around this teeny tiny little motor pulley. I mean, it might. You know, it almost looks like it's going to crimp there because it's just so thick and dense. Now, here's the thing. The company that I bought it from on Amazon is called Uxcell, U-X-E-L. You can get it to where, see how thick the walls are? You can order it with thinner walls. But then you have to worry that your stitching is going to rip it. And I believe on this one, I did worry about that at one point. I don't know if it was that hole there. It looks like it's ripping a little. And this is the thick wall. So I don't know. So, you know, that leads me to think, though, maybe I should have tried that green belt that everybody is melting. But I just don't want to do that with the heat and the fire and all that danger and everything. But, I mean, I'm going to keep this in the back of my mind just because it's got that tacky feel. Whereas the black belt here that I bought from PetSmart to try again, and, you know, just because I wanted it all to be black and not this ugly blue, it's nice, but it's slippery. And it was too slippery for the machine. I had to tighten it. And so I took it off. I put the blue one back on, you know, but I had everything tightened. And I thought, oh, I'll just try it again with everything tightened. I'll try this one again and see. And it turns out it was really tight at first, but then it kind of got it. I guess there's a quality, my friend told me there's a quality about silicone that it'll stretch to a certain point and then it won't stretch anymore, something like that, or it'll stay stable or something. But it's working great. I have lots of torque and everything. It's just amazing. So, yeah, I'm bummed out about this. And it doesn't even say silicone on the front of the box anymore. It says it on the back by the UPC code in small print. So it's probably not 100% silicone anymore. So here's the blue one that I bought like years ago. And you can see, you know, that it'll even crimp down there. But it doesn't do that on the motor pulley. And the reason why it's showing that it's crimping is because the wall on it is, the wall is narrow. It's probably about 1.5 mils. But it's just, it just works so good. And you can see that the box said silicone airline tubing, whereas now it says just airline tubing. Now, I didn't go into the store. I did have it delivered, so I didn't see if they had the blue. I might just call them and have them look in the aisle and tell me, so I don't have to go there. But on the back of this, okay, and on the back of this one, they both say TF airline tubing silicone. This one says silicone black, 25 feet. But, you know, that's weird that it just makes you wonder if they just kept this here the same so they wouldn't have to change things. I don't know, because this black one and this blue one, they don't feel the same. They don't behave the same. Maybe it's silicone with some additive to make it slippery. Maybe the slipperiness of it makes so that bacteria doesn't stick to it on the inside or what have you. I don't know. But if I were to order black again, because I do still want black, the next time I order, I'll probably go on Amazon. I'll order the Uxcell in the 6mm diameter. I think it said 1/4 inch or 6 mils, but 1/4 inch is 6.35 mils. But at any rate, they have a 6mm silicone tubing. They also have a 7mm silicone tubing in diameter. And on the 6 mil, the inner diameter is 4 mils. So the hole in the center is 4 mils. So that leaves 2 mils left over for the wall, 1 mil and 1 mil. So the walls are 1 mil. Whereas the 7mm, I think it said 7 and 4. 7 on the outside, 4 on the inside, would left 3 mils. So 1.5 mil for the wall on each side. So I'm kind of wondering back and forth if I should try the 6 mil or the 7 mil or just get them both. But I don't think 7 mils will be too wide for anything on here. You know, one more mil. This one, when you measure it with the calipers, the blue one is actually 5.75, I believe. Let's see. Oops, let me zero it out. It's on mils. So this one, oops, okay, is 5.93. So we'll say 6 mils. And the black one, wait a minute. Okay, 5.42. It's a little bit narrower. And it does look a little bit narrower than the blue if you hold them up to each other. So with the blue being 6 mils, I think if I went with the 7 mils on the Uxcell, U-X-C-E-L, I think there's a C in there. If I ordered the 7 mils with the 4 mil inside, leaving a 1.5 mil wall, I might be okay. This was the 3/8 that I ordered. Or I could buy the Weaver Pulley and just try a whole new setup and try this 3/8 inch tubing. But I remember there was a viewer, the reviewer said that the 3/8 didn't fit. So then it makes you think, well, is their channel on the Weaver narrower than 3/8? Or did the reviewer just not understand that it isn't supposed to seat all the way in and touch the bottom of the channel? It's supposed to sit up a little. Maybe he didn't understand that. Because he ended up getting, he said, the red, I forgot what it's called, ratcheted. It's a red twister, red twist belt, where those hit the bottom of the channel. They're V, but I don't know. They look like they hit the bottom, but I'm not sure. And I could try that too and see that type of belt. So there's so many decisions to make for the future, but for right now, it's just working so good. So good. And now, just remember, these bearings here are not the ball bearings. They're sleeve bearings, but they're mounted sleeve bearings. So the bearing here inside of this, it doesn't move or anything. You know, it's brass, and it does, or bronze, I think. I can't recall. But it does emit something slippery. If it encounters any resistance on the shaft, it emits something slippery to allow it to conform or to spin and so on. But it's working really great. And if you recall, my motor was moved back so that I would have this gap here, because you need the gap for the pulleys here. You know, there's a gap here, so you have to have a gap here. And if you recall, the way I moved it back was I had to put these extra bars on to move it back from an existing L bracket. So this is just an L bracket. Again, this was an L bracket from my grandma's vintage machine from like the 30s. It's got that curve there that fits the motor mount. So I can still use my motor mount here. I wanted to leave this. This all was taken out, everything here, you can see. And I gutted the inside just for the heck of it. I was going to put the pulleys down there and have them stick up here, or but I didn't want. I decided against it because I want everything on top. So I can watch the pulleys, I can feel my motor if it got warm and everything. But at any rate, so this is an L bracket, but I couldn't get the motor to move back enough, so I had to put these brackets on. That was a nightmare. And I'm still trying to find a bracket. You know, if I could just find one bracket with a bunch of holes in it, then I could just attach that bracket to this.